Close your eyes and imagine you're Tommy Richardson. You're 19, just graduated from high school in a small Ohio town, and it's 1968. Can you still smell the bacon frying in your mom's kitchen? Then the letter arrives, that plain white official letter with the American government seal. Your hands shake as you open it, and the words, "You are hereby ordered to report for induction," burn in your eyes. The draft. You've been called. A cold sweat beads on your forehead as you look out the kitchen window at the cornfields you've known all your life. The familiar scent of damp earth after the morning rain mixes with the smell of coffee your mom just brewed. But everything's about to change. In 6 weeks, you'll be somewhere called Vietnam, a name you barely knew how to pronounce just months ago. Your mom, Mary Richardson, 45, with early gray hair and hands rough from years at the local canning factory, drops her coffee cup. It shatters on the floor. The sound echoes through the quiet house like a warning. She doesn't need to read the letter to know what it means. Neither of you do. "Oh God, Tommy," she whispers, her voice carrying the weight of 1,000 American mothers. Her cracked voice sounds like glass breaking. At that moment, your dad, Frank Richardson, a World War II vet who's worked at the sawmill for 20 years, walks in through the back door. The usual smell of sawdust and machine oil that follows him feels out of place in the kitchen now. He sees the broken porcelain on the floor, the letter in your hand, and his face hardens. It's no surprise. He knew this day would come. "How much time do you have, son?" he asks, his voice rough like the wood he's cut for years. 6 weeks, Dad." Frank drops into the wooden chair he built years ago. The creak fills the room. "When I went to France in 44, I was 20, he says. "I thought I knew what I was walking into." He pauses, looking at his hands. "You don't know anything, Tommy. Nothing at all. Your bare feet press against the cool kitchen floor. You try to soak up every sound, every smell, every moment, like you can carry it with you. Your girlfriend, Sarah Miller, 18, blonde, blue eyes, known since kindergarten, cries when you tell her. You sit on the park bench where you shared your first kiss 2 years ago. The scent of cherry blossoms floats in the air, and you wonder if you'll ever smell it again. "I'll wait for you," she says, tears falling onto your chest as she buries her face in your arms. You don't answer, surprising yourself with how steady your voice is. "You won't wait. You're going to live your life, Sarah. You'll go to college, meet new people, be happy." But you both know that's just what you have to say. Right now, you can't imagine a world where you're not together. Your best friend, Danny Kowalski, the son of Polish immigrants living across the street, tries to volunteer when he hears you've been drafted. "If my best friend's going, I'm going too," he says. But Danny has asthma, and the army turns him down. He carries that guilt forever. "Take care of yourself over there, man," Danny says the night before you leave. You're drinking beer stolen from his dad's basement, sitting on the garage roof like you have 100 times before. "Come back in one piece." "I'll try," you lie, because you both know some don't come back whole. Some don't come back at all. "We're more than friends," she says through tears. You hug each of them, trying to memorize the feel of their bodies. Your mom's hug is desperate, like she could keep you safe just by holding on. Your dad's is firm and brief. He knows what you're going through because he's been there. On the bus, you sit beside other guys your age. Most wear the same look, fear thinly covered by determination. The boy in front of you is Marcos Washington, an 18-year-old black kid from Detroit who should be starting college this fall. Behind you is Carlos Mendeles, whose parents came from Mexico when he was a baby. "Have you seen any war movies?" Marcos asks, breaking the heavy silence. Lots, you reply. But my dad says the movies don't show the smell. What smell? Carlos asks. The smell of death, you say, repeating your dad's words, and silence falls again. The scenery passes by, green fields, red barns, small towns just like yours. You wonder how many other boys from other small towns are looking out a bus window, leaving everything behind. Sweat runs down your body before you even start training. Your drill instructor is Sergeant First Class Robert E.M.O. Dog Martinez, a Vietnam vet with scars on his face and arms who tells stories without saying a word. He's 35, but looks 50. His eyes are stone cold, and when he yells, and he yells a lot, you feel it in your bones. You're babies, he shouts the first day, his voice echoing across the training yard. Babies, whiners, mommy sent to war. I'm going to make men out of you. Either you die trying, he pauses, or you die. The words hang heavy in the hot Georgia air like a dark promise. The routine is brutal. Wake up at 5 a.m. to the shrill bugle. Physical exercises until your muscles scream. Combat training with M16 rifles heavier than anything you've ever carried. March miles under the scorching sun with gear cutting into your shoulders and making your back ache. But the worst part is the nights. Lying in your narrow, uncomfortable bunk, you hear the others. Marcos whispering prayers his grandma taught him. Carlos writing letters home he never sends because he can't explain how he feels. You write to Sarah every night. Dear Sarah, today we learned how to clean the rifle. Sergeant Martinez says our rifle is our best friend, our wife, our religion. I don't want my best friend to be a cold metal gun, but I guess I don't have a choice. I miss the smell of your perfume. Here, there's only sweat, gun oil, and fear. Yes, fear has a smell. It's sour and metallic, like old coins left in the rain. Love, Tommy. The recruit in the bunk above you is William Billy Patterson, 19, from a farm in Kansas. Billy has red hair, freckles, and a smile that feels out of place here. He talks about his little sisters, how they bake the best chocolate chip cookies, and how he plans to teach them to drive when he comes home. Never, he always says, till Billy's your best friend. At training camp, you share everything. Food, letters from home, late-night fears. When you get a package from your mom with homemade cookies, you share them with Billy. When Billy gets family photos, he shows them to you like they're treasures. This is Lucy, he says, pointing to a girl around 12 with the same red hair as him. She wants to be a vet. And this is Emma. She's 8 and obsessed with horses. You hold on to these details like they're your own family memories. There's also James Priter Williams, a 20-year-old black kid from Alabama who wanted to be a pastor before the draft. Preacher has a calm, soothing voice that settles the other recruits when nightmares hit. God's got a plan for all of us, Preacher says, even when you're cleaning your rifles and can't see it. Then there's Anthony Ant, an Italian kid from Brooklyn who talks fast and gestures wildly, even when holding a weapon. He tells funny stories about his big family. 7 siblings all crammed into a tiny apartment above his dad's bakery. My mama makes a marinara sauce that'd make you cry, he says, sounding nostalgic. When I come back, I'm gonna eat so much I'll explode. These guys become brothers in a way you never expected. It's not a choice, it's survival. You protect each other, share pain and fear, and build a makeshift family amid the chaos of training. Combat training is when it gets real. You learn how to kill efficiently, use a bayonet, throw grenades, move silently through the jungle, survive when everything around you wants you dead. Sergeant Martinez teaches in a way that freezes your blood. In the jungle, he says, low and threatening. The enemy won't warn you before they shoot. You won't have time to think. Half a second to decide if you live or die. half a second. He shows photos, things no 19-year-old should see. Wounded soldiers, bodies in plastic bags, field hospitals soaked in blood and disinfectant. This is what's waiting for you, he says. Some of you will come home in coffins. Some will come back missing legs, arms, faces, and some, he looks you straight in the eye. Some will come back with their souls shattered into pieces so small you'll never put them back together. That night, Billy throws up outside the tent. Marcos can't stop shaking. Carlos writes a letter home in Spanish. It's the only way he can describe the terror. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what Sergeant Martinez said about shattered souls. You wonder if yours is already cracking. The letter that changes everything arrives in the 10th week. It's from Sarah, and you recognize her handwriting before opening it. But something's different. The writing is rushed, less careful. Dear Tommy, I don't know how to say this, so I'll be straight. I can't wait. I know I said I would, but I can't. I'm 18, Tommy. I can't spend the best years of my life waiting for something that might never happen. I feel awful about it. But I've started seeing Steve Morrison. Do you remember him? He was a year ahead of us in school. He's going to State University this fall and asked me to go with him. Please, don't hate me. I'll always love what we had, but I have to live my life. Sarah P. My mom doesn't know. I didn't have the guts to tell her. You read the letter 3 times before it really sinks in. Steve Morrison, the kid who always picked on you, who drove his dad's red Mustang, who never worried about the draft because he was headed to college. Billy watches you read and sees your face change. News? He asks softly. You fold the letter and slip it into your shirt pocket. My girlfriend decided she can't wait. Billy doesn't say anything for a long beat, then puts a hand on your shoulder. Man, I'm sorry. It's better this way. You lie again. Now, nothing's holding me back. But it's not true. That letter doesn't set you free. It leaves you drifting, untethered, with nothing tying you to the life you left behind. That night, you burn the letter in the latrine. The flames eat her words, but they can't burn the ache in your chest. Basic training graduation comes on a hot August day. Your family is there, everyone except you. They couldn't travel to Georgia. Money's tight and your dad can't miss work. You watch Billy hug his parents and little sisters. You see Marcos kiss his girlfriend. You watch Carlos cry in his mom's arms. You stand alone, straightening your new uniform and trying not to think about how empty you feel. Sergeant Martinez walks up after the ceremony. Richardson, he says, and there's something different in his voice. Less harsh, more real. Yes, sir. You don't have family here. No, sir. They couldn't come. I understand, sir. He pauses, looking at all the families gathered. Do you know where you're headed? Vietnam? Sir? Yes. And do you know what that means? He asks again. You don't answer because you're not sure what he wants to hear. It means your fellow soldiers are your family now, Martinez says. They're all you've got. You watch out for them, they watch out for you. That's how you survive. He hands you a small piece of paper with an address written in handwriting. If you survive, write to me. I want to know. Not when you survive, if. The flight to Vietnam is on a C-141 Starlifter, a military plane converted to carry troops. There are no windows in the passenger section, just rows of metal seats covered in olive drab fabric. The smell is jet fuel, sweat, and fear. You sit next to Billy, quieter than you've ever seen him. Across the aisle, Marcos and Preacher whisper prayers together. A few rows back, Hunt tries to make the other soldiers laugh with jokes, but even he sounds forced. The flight is long, over 20 hours with stops in Hawaii and the Philippines. In Hawaii, you get 2 hours of freedom. You and Billy walk around the base, breathing in the tropical air and trying not to think this might be the last time you step on American soil. Ever had fresh pineapple? Billy asks, buying one from a local vendor. No, you say as he hands you a piece. It's sweet and juicy, nothing like the canned stuff you knew. Now, you can say you ate pineapple in Hawaii. Little moments like that make you realize how young Billy still is, still chasing adventure even with all the fear around. In the Philippines, the stop is just to refuel. You don't get off the plane, but through the small cockpit windows you see palm trees, blue skies, and a military base that looks just like the one you left. You wonder if all military bases are built the same, to make soldiers feel less lost. When the plane finally touches down at Tan Son Nut Air Base near Saigon, it feels like stepping onto another planet. The heat hits you like a wall the moment the door opens. This isn't Georgia heat. It's alive, breathing, sticking to your skin like a second wet layer. The smell is impossible to describe. A mix of jet fuel, rotting food, sweat, burning incense, and something else you can't quite place that twists your stomach. Later, you'll learn it's the smell of war. Cordite, dried blood, and death lurking nearby. The noise never stops, and it's deafening. Planes taking off and landing. UH-1 Huey helicopters roaring overhead with their whoop, whoop, whoop that will haunt your dreams forever. Military vehicles thunder by, soldiers shout orders, and in the distance you hear the muffled boom of artillery. War happening somewhere just beyond. My God, Billy whispers next to you, his voice almost lost in the chaos. A sergeant with a sunburned face and sweat-soaked uniform yells at your group, "Welcome to Vietnam, ladies. Hope you enjoyed the flight, 'cause it might have been the last comfortable moment of your miserable lives. You're herded like cattle onto military trucks. The ground is red clay that sticks to your boots and uniform. Veteran soldiers watch you with looks that range from pity to grim amusement. These are men who survived, men who've seen it all, men whose eyes have that empty look you don't understand yet." One skinny vet with scars on his face approaches while you wait for the trucks. "How many months do you have?" he asks. "We just got here," you answer. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. "FNG," he says. "Fucking new guys, you'll learn." "Learn what?" Billy asks. The vet studies him for a long moment, and there's something almost kind in his tired eyes. "You don't know shit about shit," he says, "and that might just keep you alive if you're lucky. You're assigned to Fire Support Charlie Base in Tay Ninh Province near the Cambodian border. It's a slice of America carved out of the Vietnamese jungle. Wooden bunkers and sandbags, military tents, an observation tower made of logs and twine. But don't get fooled. Charlie sits in what soldiers call Indian country, where the Viet Cong roam free. Attacks come often, especially at night. Your commanding officer's Lieutenant Brad L.T. Morrison. No relation to Steve Morrison who stole your girlfriend, but hearing the name still knots your stomach. Morrison is 22, fresh from West Point, and on his first combat command. He tries to look confident, but you can see the fear in his young eyes. "Soldiers," he says at the first briefing. "You are now part of the 1st Infantry Division, 2nd Battalion, Bravo Company. Our mission is to keep this area secure for Allied forces and to cut off enemy supply lines." Fancy words to keep you from thinking about dying while you kill as many Vietnamese as possible. Your squad leader is Staff Sergeant Michael "Top" Thompson, a 28-year-old black veteran from Mississippi on his second tour. Top's dark skin is marked by shrapnel scars, and his eyes have seen too much. He wastes no words. "You green boys will learn 3 things," he says on day 1. "How not to make noise, how not to die, and how to keep your buddies alive, in that order." Top reminds you of your dad in a way. The same few words, the same tough exterior hiding something softer inside. but where your dad cut wood, Top killed to survive. Your tent mate is a veteran named David Doc Martinez. No relation to Sergeant Martinez from training camp either, but you're starting to see the army's full of Martinezes. Doc's a medic and's been in Vietnam for 8 months. He's 21, but looks 40. The first thing you gotta get, Doc tells you while setting up his gear, is that everything here is trying to kill you. The trees, the animals, the plants, the weather, and of course, the enemy. Your only shot is trusting the guys next to you. Doc shows you how to organize your gear, conserve water, and patch up small wounds. But the most important lesson comes that first night. Ever killed anyone? He asks while cleaning his M16. No, you will, he says. And when it happens, don't try to rationalize it or justify it. Just accept it and move on. The guilt comes later when you're safe at home. For now, do whatever it takes to keep you and your friends alive. Your first patrol is 3 days after you arrive. You, Billy, Marcos, Preacher, and Ant join a squad led by Sergeant Thompson. The mission sounds simple. Patrol a 5-kilometer perimeter around base, look for enemy activity, then come back. In practice, it's terrifying. The Vietnamese jungle is nothing like you imagined. It's thick, humid, and alive in a way that feels hostile. Leaves the size of plates drip with condensation. Thick vines, like telephone cables, hang from trees. The noise is constant. Insects, birds, monkeys, the forest itself breathing. Move single file, the sergeant whispers. 5 meters apart, no noise. Don't touch anything unfamiliar. And for God's sake, don't shoot unless I say. You're in the middle of the line, between Billy and Marcos. Your heart pounds so loud you're sure everyone can hear it. Within minutes, your uniform is soaked with sweat. The gear you carry, rifle, ammo, water, radio, feels like a ton. After 15 minutes, you step on something soft, look down, and see the remains of a Vietnamese soldier. Not much left, mostly bones and bits of uniform the jungle hasn't swallowed yet. The smell of decay mixed with sweet tropical flowers makes you throw up immediately. First time, Doc whispers behind you. You nod, wiping your mouth. It gets easier. He's lying. The sergeant approaches and checks out the remains. Viet Cong, he says, judging by the gear left behind. Dead maybe 3 weeks? They passed through here recently. Suddenly, every shadow in the jungle feels like it's hiding an enemy soldier. The patrol goes on for another 2 hours without incident. You find signs of recent activity, footprints in the mud, broken branches, carefully hidden campfire spots, but no direct contact. You were lucky today, the sergeant says as you head back to base, but don't count on luck forever. That night, you can't sleep. Every time you close your eyes, you see those bones. You wonder if that soldier had a family, if someone's waiting for him at home. You wonder if your own bones will be scattered here in a few weeks. Billy is awake too, staring at the tent ceiling. This isn't like the movies, he whispers. No, you agree, not the first time you kill someone. It's the second, you realize. 2 weeks later, during an ambush that goes wrong, you kill someone. You're on another patrol, a search and destroy mission in a village suspected of hiding Viet Cong fighters. Military intelligence, which you quickly learn is often neither smart nor accurate, says the village is empty except for enemy combatants. They're wrong. The village has about 30 small huts made of bamboo and palm leaves. It looks peaceful, almost beautiful, in the morning sun filtering through the trees. Smoke rises from cooking fires. You smell rice. For a moment, you're reminded of your mom's kitchen, but something feels off. The sergeant whispers into the radio. This place should be empty. Lieutenant Morrison's voice crackles back. Proceed with the mission, Sergeant. Search the village. The squad moves cautiously, weapons ready. You're paired with Billy, assigned to sweep the eastern huts. Your hands shake as you approach the first hut. "Anyone inside?" Billy whispers, pointing to smoke rising from the roof. You nod and take position at the door, while Billy moves to the window. On the sergeant's signal, you kick the bamboo door open. Inside, an elderly Vietnamese man sits cross-legged on a mat, eating a bowl of rice. He looks at you with eyes that show neither surprise nor fear, just resignation. He must be about 70, wearing simple farmer's clothes. "Chow Ong," he says calmly. "Good morning, sir." You freeze. Your training taught you to neutralize threats, but this old man eating breakfast doesn't look like one. You lower your rifle slightly. Then you hear Billy scream. You turn and see him on the ground, blood spreading across his chest. A young Vietnamese soldier, no older than 16, kneels over him with a bayonet, ready to strike again. You don't think, you react. Your M16 fires 3 shots fast. The bullets hit the boy in the chest, sending him spinning. He drops the bayonet and falls backward, blood streaming from his young face. Time stops. You see the boy's eyes, brown like yours, filled with pain, fear, maybe regret. He tries to speak, but only blood comes out. Then he dies. You kneel beside Billy, who's breathing shallow and fast. The bayonet wound is deep, just below his left collarbone. "Doc! Doc!" you yell, your voice cracking. Doc Martinez rushes over, kneels beside Billy and starts working right away. "It's not that bad," he says, but you see the worry in his eyes. "He didn't hit any major arteries. Billy, you're gonna be okay, understand?" Billy tries to speak but coughs up blood. The old Vietnamese man stays on his mat, watching with those resigned eyes. He never moved or tried to run. He just stayed there while American soldiers shot people in his home every day. "What do we do with him?" you ask the sergeant when he arrives. The sergeant stares at the old man a long moment. "He's not a combatant, leave him, but you can't stop looking at the boy you killed. He's smaller than you remembered, wearing a uniform way too big for his skinny frame. There's a photo in his shirt pocket, one corner stained with blood. "Richardson!" the sergeant shouts. "We gotta move now." The rest of the mission is a blur. Billy is medevaced out by helicopter, your first time seeing a medical evacuation. The rotor blades whirl deafeningly, kicking up dust and debris that sting your eyes. As the helicopter carrying Billy lifts off, you realize you may never see your friend again. The boy who talked about teaching his sisters to drive, who shared homemade cookies, who still believed he'd survive this war. That night you can't eat. The mess hall serves what's supposed to be beef stew, but it tastes like cardboard and despair. You sit with Marcos, Preacher, and Aunt, but no one talks much. "How's Billy?" Aunt asks. "Doc says he'll live, right?" you reply. "He's getting evacuated to Japan and then probably home." "Lucky?" Marcos murmurs, then immediately looks guilty for saying it. Preacher puts down his spoon. "Let's pray for him." You're not religious, but you bow your head as Preacher asks God to protect Billy, heal his wounds, and bring him home safe. You find yourself adding a silent prayer, not to God, but to any force out there. Please let him be okay. Please let his sisters see him again. After dinner, you walk to the perimeter and sit on sandbags, staring into the jungle's darkness. Somewhere out there, the enemy is moving, planning their next attack. Somewhere out there, young Americans and Vietnamese are trying to kill each other. Doc Martinez finds you an hour later. "First kill?" he asks, sitting down next to you. You nod, unable to trust your voice. "Want to talk about it?" "He was just a kid," you finally say. "Maybe 16, he had a photo in his pocket." Doc stays quiet for a long moment. You know what would have happened if you hadn't shot? Billy would be dead, probably me too. Doc lights a cigarette, the flame briefly lighting his face in the dark. You did what you had to do to protect your friend. That's what soldiers do. How do you live with it? One day at a time, Doc says. And remembering if you don't do your job, good men die. Men like Billy, men like you. You sit quietly, listening to the jungle at night. Insects singing, distant artillery, the occasional sniper shot. Doc? Yeah? How many have you killed? He takes a long drag on his cigarette. Stopped counting after 20. A letter from home arrives a week later. It's from your mom, written carefully on the blue paper she saves for special occasions. Dear Tommy, your dad and I were so happy to get your letter saying you arrived safely. We pray for you every night before bed. Jenny just started her senior year of high school. She's dating a boy named Michael Carlson. Do you remember him? His dad owns the hardware store. Don't worry, your dad already gave him the talk about treating our daughter right. I have some news I wasn't sure if I should share. Sarah Miller got engaged to Steve Morrison last week. I know you and Sarah had your disagreements before you left, but I thought you should know. They're planning a Christmas wedding. Please be careful out there. Come home safe. All our love, Mom. P.S. Mrs. Kowalski says Denny asks about you all the time. He feels terrible he couldn't go with you. You read the letter twice, then fold it carefully and tuck it into your pocket. Sarah's marrying Steve Morrison, with his Mustang, college deferment, and predictable future. They'll probably live in a nice house with a white picket fence, have kids, and never know what it's like to kill a 16-year-old boy with a rifle. You should be angry, but you're not. You feel empty, like the war has burned out something inside you that used to care about lost love and high school sweethearts. That night you write back, Dear Mom, thanks for the news from home. Tell Jenny that Michael Carlson better treat her right, or he'll have to answer to me when I get back. I'm glad Sarah's happy. She deserves that. Please don't worry about me. I'm with good men, and we look out for each other. Send my love to everyone. Take care, and tell Denny I appreciate him thinking of me. You don't tell her about Billy getting wounded. You don't tell her about the boy you killed. You don't say you've stopped believing you'll make it home alive. Some truths are too heavy for mothers to carry. 2 days later, Billy's replacement shows up. His name is Peter Novato O'Brien, fresh out of basic, 19 years old, red hair and freckles that make him look even younger. He's from Boston, talks fast with an accent you have to focus to understand, and has the same anxious excitement Billy had when he first arrived. So, this is Vietnam, the rookie says, eyes wide as he looks around the base. It's not as bad as I thought. Marcos, Preacher, Ant, and you exchange looks. None of you have the heart to tell him Fire Support Base Charlie is the safest place he'll see here. You'll learn, you say. That's all you can say. The sergeant puts the rookie in your squad, making you responsible for keeping him alive and showing him the realities of jungle warfare. It's a responsibility you didn't want, but can't refuse. Richardson, the sergeant says after the briefing. This kid's your shadow until he learns how to survive. If he dies, it's on you. Understood, Sergeant. Your first patrol with the rookie is a learning experience for both of you. He talks too much, moves too much, makes too much noise, and touches everything despite your warnings. What's that bird? He asks loudly, pointing at something moving in the canopy. Shut up, you hiss, the sound echoing through the jungle. Sorry, he whispers, but 5 minutes later he's asking about another plant. Another sound, another smell. You realize he was exactly like you a month ago, curious, naive, unaware how fast death can find you here. The shift from innocence to experience happens fast in combat zones. 20 minutes into the patrol, the rookie steps on a punji stake, one of those bamboo spikes the Viet Cong hide in the ground, often smeared with human feces to cause infection. The stake pierces his boot and goes into his foot. "Ow! Something just stabbed me!" he yells, loud enough to alert any enemy within half a kilometer. You and Doc quickly pull him to cover, while Doc checks the wound. The stake didn't go in deep, and luckily it wasn't poisoned. But the rookie will limp for a week. "This is what happens when you don't watch your step," you tell him as Doc bandages him. Next time it could be a landmine instead of a piece of wood. The rookie's face goes pale. "Landmines, booby traps, snipers, ambushes," you say. "Welcome to Vietnam, rookie." The words taste bitter in your mouth. The big attack comes 3 weeks later, in the dead of night when the jungle is darkest and fear is strongest. You wake up to the whistle of incoming mortars, a sound that starts sharp and high, then drops in pitch as death approaches. You have maybe 3 seconds before the first explosion lights up the night and sends shrapnel ripping through your tent. "Incoming! Incoming!" someone yells, but the voice is lost in the chaos of explosions and gunfire. You grab your rifle and helmet and roll out of your bunk, just as another mortar round hits the tent. The blast lifts it off the ground and slams it back down, leaving your ears ringing and your vision blurry. The rookie is frozen in terror, still lying in his bunk as death rains down. "Move!" you scream, grabbing him by the shirt and pulling him toward the bunkers. The attack is massive. Maybe 200 Viet Cong and North Vietnamese regulars hitting the base from 3 sides at once. Flashes of gunfire light up the jungle perimeter like deadly fireflies. The sound of AK-47s mixes with the deep roar of American M60s. You reach the bunker just as an explosive charge blows up the perimeter barbed wire, sending sandbags and bits of bodies flying. Inside the bunker, you find Marcos, Preacher, Hunt, and a dozen other soldiers, all firing back through narrow slits. "Where's the sergeant?" you shout over the noise, struck by shrapnel. Marcos yells, "Doc's patching him up." You look to the corner where Doc Martinez is bent over Sergeant Thompson, whose left arm hangs at an unnatural angle and whose face is covered in blood from a head wound. "How bad?" you ask. "I'll live," the sergeant rasps, trying to sit up but can't hold his rifle. Lieutenant Morrison's voice crackles over the radio. "All units, this is Bravo 6. We're being overrun on the north perimeter. I need every man I can get on the line." You look at your friends. Marcos with his M16, Creature with a grenade launcher, Ant checking his ammo, the rookie still trembling. These are the men you've lived with, trained with, bled with. These are your brothers. "Come on," you say, checking your rifle. "Stick together, watch each other's backs, and shoot anything that moves in the wire." You lead them out of the bunker and right into hell. The battle rages for 4 hours but feels like 4 years. You fight from position to position as the perimeter shrinks, giving up ground to save lives. The muzzle flashes from your M16 become hypnotic. You shoot, move, shoot again, reload, move again. At some point you stop thinking of the enemy as people. They become targets, shapes moving in the dark that have to be taken out. It's the only way to keep your sanity, the only way to keep fighting. The rookie gets his first kill during the battle. A Viet Cong sapper who crosses the barbed wire and almost makes it to the ammo depot before the rookie's M16 cuts him down. When it's over, the rookie throws up for 10 minutes, but he did his job. "Welcome to war," you tell him, and the words taste bitter. Preacher takes shrapnel in the leg but keeps fighting. He runs out of ammo and starts throwing rocks at the enemy, cursing in Italian and English. Marcos's rifle jams at a critical moment, and you cover him while he clears it. But somehow, all of you survive until dawn, when the enemy pulls back into the jungle, leaving behind 37 bodies and the smell of cordite and death. Your squad made it through. The same can't be said for everyone. 12 American soldiers died that night. 18 were wounded badly enough to be evacuated. The base looks like a hurricane hit it. Bunkers destroyed, tents torn apart, gear scattered and ruined. You spend the next day counting the dead and helping evacuate the wounded. It's your first time handling bodies and you're shocked at how heavy they are, how soft and awkward. Death turns a person into something strange, something that used to be alive but isn't anymore. One of the dead is a soldier named Thompson. No relation to the sergeant, just another soldier with a common name. He was 19, from Iowa, and had been in country for exactly 11 days. 11 days between leaving home and dying in a bamboo forest halfway across the world. You help carry his body to the helicopter and notice he's still wearing his high school graduation ring. The engraving says, Jefferson High, class of 1967. He graduated 10 months ago. 10 months between walking across a stage in Iowa and lying dead in Vietnam. That night, after the base is secured and the wounded evacuated, you sit with your squad trying to process it all. Anyone want to talk about it? Prater asks. He's always the one trying to help everyone deal with the trauma. What's there to say? Marcos replies. We lived. They died. We'll probably do it again tomorrow. It's not that simple. Prater pushes, but Ant cuts in. He's right, Ant says. Thinking about it too much will drive you crazy. We did our job, watched each other's backs, and we're still alive. That's all that matters. But you can see in their eyes it's not that simple. None of them sleep well. None of them eat much. The weight of what they've seen and done settles on them like a heavy blanket. The rookie is worst. He keeps muttering about the man he killed, wondering if the soldier had a family, if his own family would be proud or horrified by what he's become. It doesn't get easier, you tell him, but you learn to carry it. You think of Billy, of Sarah, of your family back home who have no clue what you're going through. I'm still figuring it out, you admit. Letters from home have become lifelines, but also torture. Your mom writes about ordinary things, the weather, church events, Jenny's high school activities, your dad's work at the sawmill. Reading about normal life makes Vietnam feel even more unreal, like you're trapped in a nightmare while the real world keeps going without you. Jenny writes too, her letters full of teenage worries that seem small from where you're sitting. Dear Tommy, school is so boring. Mrs. Henderson gave us a test on the Revolutionary War, and I totally forgot to study. Can you believe she expects us to remember all those dates? Michael took me to see A Man's First Night last weekend. Have you seen it? It's about a guy who doesn't know what to do with his life after college. I kept thinking of you, and wondering what you'll want to do when you get back. Oh, and guess what? Danny Kowalsk got into college. He's going to study engineering at Ohio State. He says he still feels bad for not going to Vietnam with you. Everybody asks about you all the time. Please write more. Mom gets worried when she doesn't hear from you. Love, Jenny. P.S. Sarah Morrison. Yes, she's married now. Asked me to tell you she hopes you're safe. I don't know why she cares after what she did to you, but I thought you'd want to know. You try to imagine caring about school tests and movies and college plans, but it feels like trying to remember a dream. That world seems so far away, so innocent, so impossibly safe. The idea that people worry about forgetting book dates when you're living a story that will haunt you forever is almost laughable. But it's not funny. It's heartbreaking. You write back, Dear Jenny, don't stress about the Revolutionary War dates. What matters is knowing people fought and died for freedom, and that sacrifice means something. Congrats on college. That's the right choice. College beats war. Tell Mom I'm okay and she shouldn't worry. And tell Sarah I hope she's happy. I love you all. Love, Tommy. P.S. Don't take anything for granted. Enjoy being bored at school. Enjoy safe Saturday nights at the movies. Enjoy having your biggest worry be a history test. Those are precious gifts, even if you don't see it yet. Christmas in Vietnam feels surreal. Someone strung lights around the mess tent, and the chaplain holds a service for anyone who wants to come. Care packages arrive from home with homemade cookies, peppermint candies, and little wrapped gifts that feel like they belong to a different world. Your squad sits together for Christmas dinner. Canned turkey, instant mashed potatoes, and fruit cocktail that's supposed to feel festive. The conversation is careful. Everyone's thinking about family, past Christmases, and the chance this might be their last. My little sister always leaves cookies out for Santa, Bob says quietly. Even though she knows he's not real, she says it's tradition. My mom makes the best Christmas breakfast, the rookie adds. Pancakes, bacon, fresh orange juice. The whole house smells amazing. My grandma always burns the turkey, preacher chimes in, but we eat it anyway and say it's perfect. Those little glimpses of normal family life feel both precious and painful. You want to say something, but your Christmas memories feel like they belong to someone else. My family always argues over what movie to watch after dinner, you finally say. My dad wants war movies, Mom wants musicals, Jenny wants romance. We usually end up watching whatever's on TV. What do you want to watch? Marcos asks. You think about it. I don't remember anymore. The conversation fades. That night, you get a package from home. Your mom's cookies, a scarf Jenny knitted herself, a small wooden carving your dad made in his workshop, and a letter from your whole family. Dear Tommy, we miss you so much, especially at Christmas. The house doesn't feel the same without you. We can't decide what movie to watch without you. Feel free to join the debate when you get home. We're all doing fine. Your dad is busy at the sawmill. Apparently, there's good money in construction lumber right now. Jenny got into Ohio State, her first choice, and will start this fall. I've been volunteering at church, helping with the Christmas play. We pray for you every day and count the days until you come home. Please stay safe and know we love you. Merry Christmas, Mom, Dad, and Jenny. P.S. We left cookies for Santa, as always. He ate them all, so I guess some traditions never change. The letter makes you cry for the first time in months. Not exactly from sadness, but from the overwhelming feeling of how much you miss being part of something innocent, normal, and good. You try to write back, but the words won't come. How do you reply to news about college acceptances and Christmas plays when you spent the day cleaning your rifle and checking ammo? How do you bridge the gap between their world and yours? Finally, you write, Dear family, thanks for the package. Everything was perfect. Merry Christmas. I love you all. Love, Tommy. P.S. I know it's not much, but it's all I've got. Some distances are too great for words to cross. The Tet Offensive begins on January 30th, 1968, Vietnamese New Year. What was supposed to be a festive ceasefire turns into the largest coordinated attack of the war. Enemy forces launch simultaneous assaults on over 100 cities and villages across South Vietnam, including a direct attack on the American embassy in Saigon. Fire support a base. Charlie isn't a main target, but you're close enough to Saigon to hear the explosions, see the fires lighting up the night sky, and catch the frantic radio chatter from units under attack all over the region. All units, this is Saigon Control. We are under direct attack. The embassy compound has been breached. I repeat, the embassy compound has been breached. The radio traffic is chaotic. Calls for reinforcements, reports of enemy infiltration, desperate pleas for emergency evacuation. For the first time since you got to Vietnam, you hear panic in the voices of senior officers. Jesus Christ, the sergeant mutters as he listens. They're hitting everything at once. Your base goes to full alert. Every man is assigned a defensive position. The perimeter is reinforced with more barbed wire and mines. Helicopter patrols increase. Everyone knows that if the enemy's willing to attack the American embassy, nowhere is safe. For 3 days, you stay on edge, ready for an attack that never comes. You sleep in full gear with your rifle in hand, eat cold rations at your fighting position, and watch the jungle through binoculars until your eyes ache. The mental toll is brutal. After months of learning the jungle, reading enemy patterns, figuring out which areas are safe, suddenly everywhere feels dangerous. The rules have changed, and nobody knows what the new rules are. On the 4th day, intelligence reports come in that the Tet offensive has been crushed. Enemy casualties are huge, thousands killed. Their coordinated attack was broken by superior American firepower. Military commanders call it a major victory, but something has shifted that can't be measured in body counts or tactical wins. The enemy has shown they can strike anywhere, anytime, even places that should be totally safe. The psychological impact is huge. If they can attack the American embassy in the heart of Saigon, what else could they hit that matters to you? Intelligence suggests the Tet offensive was a diversion. While Allied forces defended the cities, the enemy moved large numbers of troops and supplies through the interior. The jungle around Fire Support Base. Charlie is now considered far more dangerous. Patrols will double, Lieutenant Morrison announces. The battalion wants us to locate and disrupt enemy supply lines in our area of operations, he says. Translation: You're going to spend a lot more time in the jungle hunting an enemy who just showed they're more capable and numerous than anyone expected. The war you thought you were fighting, the one where you understood what was safe and what wasn't, is over. A new war is starting. Your first patrol after Tet is the longest and most dangerous yet. 12 men, 5 days in the jungle, searching for enemy supply caches and camps. The mission takes you farther from Fire Support Base Charlie than ever before, into territory even intelligence admits they don't control. Your squad's changed again. Rookie O'Brien was evacuated with dysentery 2 weeks ago. His replacement is David Hillbilly Jackson from West Virginia, who talks with such a thick accent you sometimes need subtitles to understand him. He's older than most replacements, 22, and has practical survival skills from growing up in the mountains. You city boys don't know how to move quietly in the woods, he says on day 1. Sound travels different in a closed-in forest. Normally, that'd start an argument, but Hillbilly proves his point by moving through the jungle like a ghost. While the rest of you crash through brush and slip on wet leaves, he glides between obstacles without a sound. Teach us, you ask. He spends the next hour showing the squad how to step, how to push plants aside, how to read the ground before putting weight on it. By day 2, you realize Hillbilly's skills might keep you alive. He spots booby traps the rest of you miss. He finds animal trails for silent movement. He can tell from broken branches and disturbed earth how many people passed through and how recently the enemy was there. On day 3, he signals the squad to stop. He's found something, an enemy base camp. He points through the trees. Beyond the foliage, you see a complex of carefully camouflaged bamboo huts, but clearly a sizable operation. Smoke rises from cooking fires. You hear Vietnamese voices, the sounds of equipment being moved, normal activity for a large group. Lieutenant Morrison calls for instructions on the radio. The answer comes fast. Observe and report, but don't engage. The camp's too big for 12 men to attack successfully. For 6 hours you stay still in the jungle, watching and counting at least 40 enemy soldiers, probably more, and noting large amounts of weapons, ammo, radios, and medical supplies. This isn't a temporary camp, it's a permanent base. Request airstrike? Morrison asks quietly. Too close to the border, the sergeant replies. Political complications. So you observe, record, and memorize details that might be useful later. You count soldiers, identify weapons, map the camp. Real military intelligence work. What you don't expect to see are children, maybe 8 and 10 years old. A boy and a girl playing with wooden toys near one of the huts. They're clearly not soldiers or even support staff. Just kids living in a military camp because they have nowhere else to go. Seeing them changes everything. These faceless enemy fighters are people with families, children who need protection, ordinary humans caught in a war they didn't choose. But they're still the enemy. Their presence complicates any future attack on the camp. American forces won't deliberately target children, but kids can die in combat, especially in airstrikes or artillery barrages. You watch the little girl chase butterflies near the bunkers and realize war isn't just soldiers killing soldiers. It's destroying everything normal, innocent, and good, including kids born in the wrong place at the wrong time. As you make your way back to Fire Support Base Charlie, you can't stop thinking about those kids. In another life, they could have been Jenny's friends, playing at school, worrying about homework instead of air raids. But this isn't another life. This is war, and they're caught in it, and there's nothing you can do to protect them. The intelligence you gathered leads to a major operation 2 weeks later. 3 companies of American troops, backed by artillery and attack helicopters, assault the enemy camp you found. You're not in the assault team. Your squad holds a blocking position to keep enemy forces from fleeing toward Cambodia. You spend the day listening to the main attack's radio traffic, reports of heavy fighting, casualty counts, and progress. Bravo 6, this is Thunder 2-1. Multiple KIA at the objective. Request immediate medevac. Thunder 1, medevac en route. Be advised, enemy casualties estimated at 25 KIA. Unknown number wounded, some fleeing toward your position. The battle rages most of the day. By nightfall, reports say it's a tactical win. The enemy camp destroyed, lots of weapons and supplies captured, heavy enemy losses. But the victory feels hollow when you hear the cost. 11 Americans dead, 23 wounded. Among the enemy dead are 2 children. Do you know who they are? The kids you saw playing with wooden toys just days ago? Now they're stats, a line item in a post-action report, collateral damage in a successful operation. That night, you can't sleep. You lie in your bunk staring at the ceiling, thinking about how random death is in war. If your squad had been in the assault team instead of blocking, you might be dead. If those kids had been visiting relatives somewhere else, they might still be alive. War turns human lives into chance, time, and coordinates. You can be the best soldier, make all the right calls, follow every rule, and still die because you were in the wrong place when a mortar landed. Survival is random. Skill matters, but luck matters more. Experience helps, but sometimes rookies outlive veterans just by accident. There's no justice in who lives and who dies, only statistics, probability, and the brutal math of combat. You okay? Doc Martinez asks, noticing you're awake. Yeah, you lie. Want to talk about it? There's nothing to talk about, you say, but there is. The slow fading of your belief that life has meaning, that good people are protected, that there's justice or fairness in the world. You're losing faith in everything except the immediate reality of survival. Doc seems to get it without needing words. He's been here longer than anyone except Sergeant Thompson, he says calmly, and he's seen the idealism turn into the kind of cynicism every soldier gets if they survive long enough. That won't mean much until you get home. Then you'll figure out how to live with what you've seen. And if I don't get home, you ask, then what it all means doesn't matter, he replies. It's not comforting, but it's honest. In a war zone, honesty is more valuable than comfort. Spring comes to Vietnam with less rain and more enemy activity. The jungle grows thicker, offering better cover for both sides. Patrols increase as battalion headquarters demands more intel on enemy movements in the area. You've been here months now, making you one of the most experienced guys in the squad. New replacements look to you for guidance, and you realize you've become what Billy Patterson was to you when you arrived. A link between training and reality, between what war was supposed to be and what it actually is. The newest replacement is Thomas Tomey II. Wilson, another 19-year-old kid from a small town, this time Iowa. The squad calls him Tom 2 to keep things clear, but sharing the same name is an uncomfortable reminder of how interchangeable soldiers are from the Army's view. Tom 2 has the same nervous enthusiasm you remember from your first days. The same questions about everything. The same confidence he'll survive because he's smart, careful, and trained well. How many missions have you flown? He asks as he cleans his rifle. I stopped counting, you answer honestly. After the first 20 patrols, they all blur together into a never-ending mix of fear, boredom, and brief moments of terror. What scared you the most? He presses. You think about it. The kid you killed in that village. The night the base nearly got overrun. The 6 hours stuck behind enemy lines on reconnaissance. All of it, you say finally. Everything's terrifying. You just get used to being afraid. Tom 2 doesn't get it yet, but he will. Fear becomes background noise in combat. A constant companion you learn to live with, but never really conquer. Any advice? He asks. Listen to the sergeant and doc. Stay close to your squad. Don't volunteer for anything, and don't make friends too fast. That last one sounds harsh, but it's practical. The faster you get attached, the harder it hits when someone's killed or wounded. Emotional distance is a survival skill, but even as you say it, you know it's impossible. Soldiers in combat get closer to their squad mates than anyone back home. You depend on each other in ways civilian life can't match. Do you care about Tom 2? Despite your warning, you want him to live, to learn what he needs to learn, to get back to Iowa, to his family, to any normal life waiting for him, which makes it that much harder when he's killed 3 weeks later. Tom 2 dies on a routine patrol. One of those missions you've done dozens of times without problems. The squad is sweeping through a village suspected of supporting Viet Cong activity. Intel said the village was abandoned, that civilians had left, and only enemy fighters remained. Once again, Intel was wrong. The village is full of elderly people and kids. Families too poor or sick to leave, or just too stubborn to abandon homes they've lived in for generations. They watch your squad with the resigned acceptance of people who've seen many armies come and go. It doesn't feel right, the hayseed murmurs, scanning the village through his rifle sight. Too many civilians for a combat mission. Lieutenant Morrison radios battalion headquarters for orders. The reply is clear. Proceed with the mission. Search every building. Detain any military-aged man for questioning. The sweep goes on methodically. Most huts hold just rice, cooking stuff, and the basic belongings of subsistence farmers. No weapons, no ammo, no sign of military activity. Tom 2 is assigned to search a hut on the village's east edge. You watch him from 50 meters away. Then it happens. He kicks the door exactly as trained. He enters with his rifle up. Exactly as trained, he shouts for anyone inside to identify themselves. But he doesn't expect the trap. A grenade with its pin pulled, wired to the door. When it opens, the wire releases the safety lever, and the grenade explodes, blasting Tom 2 backward through the doorway. Even from 50 meters away, you see the catastrophic wounds. Doc Martinez sprints toward him before the blast's echo fades. But there's nothing Doc can do. Tom 2 dies before the medic reaches him, killed instantly by shrapnel that tore through his chest and severed his spine. "Shit!" someone shouts, and you realize it could be you. The squad ducks for cover, expecting follow-up attacks that never come. The trap was a lone defensive measure, probably set by Viet Cong from the village. You help carry Tom 2's body to the landing zone for evacuation. He weighs less than you expected. Death seems to make people lighter, like their spirit had a weight that's now gone. His face is intact, still wearing the young, nervous look he had when he asked about combat. His eyes are open, staring into nothing, reflecting the blue sky over the Vietnamese jungle. In his pocket, you find a letter he was writing to his parents. "Dear Mom and Dad, Vietnam is different than I thought, but I'm learning a lot. The other soldiers are good men who look out for each other. Tommy Richardson, there are 2 Toms in our squad, has shown me how to stay safe. He's been here 9 months and knows everything about jungle warfare. Don't worry about me, I'm being careful and following all safety rules. Love, Tom." The letter's unfinished, and now it never will be. His parents will get a telegram, followed by a folded flag, dog tags, and condolences from people who never knew their son. You carefully fold the letter and put it back in his pocket. Some things belong with the dead. "You okay?" Doc Martinez asks, noticing you're awake. "Yeah, you lie. Want to talk about it?" "There's nothing to talk about," you say, but there is. The slow erosion of your belief that life has meaning, that good people are protected, that there's justice or fairness in the world. You're losing faith in everything except the immediate reality of survival. Doc seems to understand without needing words. He's been here longer than anyone except Sergeant Thompson, he says calmly, and he's seen the idealism turn into the cynicism that hits every soldier who survives long enough. That won't make sense until you get home. Then you'll figure out how to live with what you've seen. And if I don't get home, you ask, then what it all means doesn't matter, he replies. It's not comforting, but it's honest. In a war zone, honesty is more valuable than comfort. Spring comes to Vietnam with a little less rain and a little more enemy activity. The jungle grows thicker, providing better cover for both sides. Patrols increase as battalion headquarters demands more intelligence on enemy movements in the area. You've been here for months now, making you one of the most experienced soldiers in the squad. New replacements look to you for guidance, and you realize you've become what Billy Patterson was to you when you first arrived. A bridge between training and reality, between what war was supposed to be and what it actually is. The newest replacement is Thomas Tommy II Wilson, another 19-year-old kid from a small town, this time Iowa. The squad calls him Tom II to keep things clear, but sharing the same name is an uncomfortable reminder of how interchangeable soldiers are from the Army's point of view. Tom II has the same anxious enthusiasm you remember from your first days, the same questions about everything, the same confidence he'll survive because he's smart, careful, and well-trained. "How many missions have you flown?" he asks as he cleans his rifle. "I stopped counting," you reply honestly. After the first 20 patrols, they all blur into a continuous flow of fear, boredom, and brief moments of terror. "What scared you the most?" he presses. You think about it. The kid you killed in that village. The nighttime attack when the base nearly got overrun. The 6 hours you spent stuck behind enemy lines on that recon mission. All of it, you finally say. Everything is terrifying. You just get used to being afraid. Tom II doesn't understand yet, but he will. Fear becomes background noise in combat. A constant companion you learn to live with, but never fully conquer. Any advice? He asks. Listen to the sergeant and doc. Stay close to your squad. Don't volunteer for anything, and don't make friends too quickly. That last one sounds harsh, but it's practical. The faster you form attachments, the harder it hits when someone's killed or wounded. Emotional distance is a survival skill, but even as you say it, you know it's impossible. Soldiers in combat grow closer to their squad mates than anyone back home. You depend on each other in ways civilian life can't match. Do you care about Tom too? Despite your warning, you want him to live, to learn what he needs to learn, to return to Iowa, to his family, to any normal life waiting for him. Which makes it that much harder when he's killed 3 weeks later. Tom, too, dies on a routine patrol. One of those missions you've done dozens of times without incident. The squad is sweeping through a village suspected of supporting Viet Cong activity. Intelligence said the village was abandoned, that civilians had left and only enemy fighters remained. Once again, intelligence was wrong. The village is full of elderly people and children, families too poor or sick to leave, or just too stubborn to abandon homes they've lived in for generations. They watch your squad with the resigned acceptance of people who've seen many armies come and go. It doesn't feel right, the hayseed murmurs, scanning the village through his rifle sight. Too many civilians for a combat operation. Lieutenant Morrison radios battalion headquarters for orders. The reply is clear. Proceed with the mission. Search every building. Detain any military-aged man for questioning. The sweep continues methodically. Most huts contain only rice, cooking utensils, and basic belongings of subsistence farmers. No weapons, no ammo, no sign of military activity. Tom, too, is assigned to search a hut at the village's eastern edge. You watch him from 50 meters away. Then it happens. He kicks the door exactly as trained. He enters with his rifle up. Exactly as trained, he shouts for anyone inside to identify themselves. But he doesn't expect the trap. A grenade with its pin pulled, wired to the door. When it opens, the wire releases the safety lever and the grenade explodes, blasting Tom 2 backward through the doorway. Even from 50 meters away, you see the catastrophic wounds. Doc Martinez sprints toward him before the blast's echo fades. But there's nothing Doc can do. Tom 2 dies before the medic reaches him, killed instantly by shrapnel that tore through his chest and severed his spine. "Shit!" someone shouts, and you realize it could be you. The squad ducks for cover, expecting follow-up attacks that never come. The trap was a lone defensive measure, probably set by Viet Cong from the village. You help carry Tom 2's body to the landing zone for evacuation. He weighs less than you expected. Death seems to make people lighter, like their spirit had a weight that's now gone. His face is intact, still wearing the young, nervous look he had when he asked about combat. His eyes are open, staring into nothing, reflecting the blue sky over the Vietnamese jungle. In his pocket, you find a letter he was writing to his parents. "Dear Mom and Dad, Vietnam is different than I expected, but I'm learning a lot. The other soldiers are good men who look out for each other. Tommy Richardson, there are 2 Toms in our squad, has shown me how to stay safe. He's been here 9 months and knows everything about jungle warfare. Don't worry about me. I'm being careful and following all safety rules. Love, Tom." The letter is unfinished, and now it never will be. His parents will receive a telegram, followed by a folded flag, dog tags, and condolences from people who never knew their son. You carefully fold the letter and put it back in his pocket. Some things belong with the dead. The bigger size of the patrol tells you battalion intelligence expects a stronger enemy presence than they let on in the official briefing. You're at the front again. A spot you've learned to hate but do well in. Being in front means you're the first to run into everything. Traps, ambushes, wild animals, tough terrain. It takes constant vigilance and the ability to pick up on subtle signs of danger. The hayseed is right behind you in second position, watching the areas you might miss. Then come the radio operator, squad leaders, and the rest of the men in a column designed to limit casualties from a single attack. The jungle is eerily quiet as you move along the suspected supply route. No birds calling, no insects buzzing, none of the forest's usual sounds. Experienced soldiers know this kind of silence is a warning. It usually means predators are close. Something's not right, you whisper into the radio. What do you see? Lieutenant Morrison's voice comes back, crackling with static. Nothing. That's the problem. You signal the patrol to stop while you study the terrain ahead. The trail curves right around a big tree, then disappears into thick vegetation, a perfect spot for an ambush. Visibility is limited, movement restricted, but the mission demands you push forward. Intelligence wants info on enemy activity here, and the only way to get it is to keep moving. You creep around the tree, rifle ready, senses sharp for any danger. The trail goes on maybe 30 meters before opening into a small clearing where someone's set up a rest area. Bamboo benches, a campfire, signs of regular use. That's when you spot the wire stretched across the trail at chest height, almost invisible in the dappled light. It's not a booby trap wire rigged to explosives, but something else. A tripwire meant to alert watchers when someone passes. You raise your hand to signal the patrol when gunfire breaks out. The enemy was waiting in camouflage spots around the clearing, letting you walk straight into a kill zone they'd expertly prepared. Automatic weapons firing from at least 6 directions, turning the peaceful jungle into a storm of bullets and noise. The ambush is well planned and executed. The enemy has clear lines of fire, solid camouflage, and planned escape routes. Contact front, you shout into the radio, though the roar of gunfire makes communication nearly impossible. Behind you, the patrol fans out and fires back, but you're at a severe disadvantage. The enemy picked the time and place and holds the higher ground. Lieutenant Morrison's voice crackles over the radio. Fall back to the last defensible position. I'm requesting air support, but pulling back means moving through the kill zone. Enemy fire is too intense to move. You're pinned down, trapped in a clearing with little cover and taking casualties. Every time someone tries to move, you see the hayseed 20 meters to your left, pressed against a tree that offers little protection. Blood trickles from a grazing head wound, but he keeps firing his M16. You hear Marcos's rifle behind you, distinctive fire. Trotter is calling for someone named Johnson, who isn't answering. The radio is chaos. Multiple voices at once, calls for medevac, requests for artillery support. The firefight feels like it lasts hours but is probably just minutes. Time stretches in combat. Seconds drag on as you wait for the next muzzle flash, line up your shot, pray the enemy doesn't have mortars or rockets. Then you hear it, the whop-whop of helicopters coming from the south. An AH-1 Cobra gunship is inbound. Lieutenant Morrison reports, mark your positions with smoke. Colored smoke grenades pop across the ridge. Green to mark friendly positions, red for enemy locations. The pilot needs to know who's who before opening fire. Cobra 1 here, I see the red smoke, initiating attack. The helicopter's minigun opens up, sending thousands of rounds per minute into enemy positions. The sound is like fabric tearing, magnified beyond belief. Trees explode into splinters, dirt sprays everywhere, and enemy fire abruptly stops. When the Cobra finishes, the jungle is quiet again. No automatic fire, no screams, just rotors fading and ringing in your ears from the explosions. "All units, report in," Lieutenant Morrison calls over the radio. The count reveals the cost of the ambush. 2 men are dead, 5 badly wounded and needing medevac. Among the dead is Private Johnson, the young man Prater called for during the fight. Among the wounded is the hayseed, whose head wound turns out worse than first thought. Doc Martinez works on him while calling for medical evacuation, but you see the worry in Doc's eyes. "How bad?" you ask. "Bad enough," Doc says, meaning the hayseed's war is over, even if he lives. The medevac chopper arrives 30 minutes later, loading the wounded and dead onto stretchers and into body bags. You help carry the hayseed onto the litter. He grips your arm as they secure it. "Tell my family I fought well," he says, voice weak but determined. "Tell them yourself when you get home," you reply, but you both know he might not make it. As the helicopter lifts off, you realize your squad's down to 6 effective soldiers. You, Marcos, Prater, Anand, Bobby Chen, and Doc Martinez. Everyone else is dead, wounded, or transferred. 6 men left out of the 12 who started together 9 months ago. Good men, their lives and futures erased. You don't read the full after-action report. Officers write reports. Grunts live the events behind them. But you hear the summary during debrief. The clinical language makes your blood boil. Acceptable losses means Johnson and Williams are dead. The hayseed may never walk normally again, and 3 others are in hospital beds trying to remember why they volunteered for a war most Americans are starting to oppose. That night, you write what might be your last letter home. "Dear Mom, I know I haven't written much lately, but I wanted you to know I'm okay, and still counting the days till I get home. We had some contact with the enemy yesterday, but everyone in my immediate squad is fine. I can't say much about what happened, but please don't worry. Just 5 more weeks in my tour. I'm starting to believe I might actually make it home. Tell Jenny I'm proud of her for going to college. Tell Dad I miss working with him in the shop. Tell everyone I think about them every day. I love you all. Don't ask about Vietnam for a while. When I get back, you'll understand. Love, Tom." It's the most honest letter you've written since arriving, and also the most hopeful. For the first time in months, you allow yourself to believe you might actually survive this war. But even as you write about going home, part of you wonders if you'll ever really leave Vietnam behind. War changes you in ways that geography or time can't undo. The boy who left Ohio no longer exists, and the man coming home carries wounds that might never heal. Michael, the rookie. Peterson, no relation to Billy Peterson. Just another common name in an army full of common names from ordinary American families. The rookie is everything you were a year ago. Nervous, confident, full of questions about combat, convinced his training has prepared him for whatever he might face. Looking at him is like staring at a picture of yourself from another life. "So, what's it really like?" he asks as you show him how to arrange his gear for maximum efficiency and minimum noise. "It's nothing you've ever experienced," you say, and no one can really explain it to someone who hasn't been through it. But training has to count for something, right? Training teaches you how to use your equipment and follow basic procedures. It doesn't teach you how to watch your friends die, or how to kill people trying to kill you, or how to live with what you've done. The rookie flinches at your bluntness, but you don't care. Someone has to tell him the truth nobody told you before you got here. "Any advice?" he asks. "The same advice I got from the guy who showed me the ropes. Listen to Sergeant Thompson and Doc Martinez. Stay close to your squad. Don't volunteer for anything stupid, and don't make friends too fast." Why not make friends? You think of Billy Patterson teaching his sisters to drive, Tom too writing letters home, the hayseed teaching the squad to move quietly through the jungle, because it hurts more when they die. Over the next 3 weeks, you watch the rookie go through the same change you did. From civilian to soldier, from innocent to experienced, from optimist to realist. The shift happens faster now than it did when you arrived. The war's gotten worse, and new soldiers don't have the luxury of easing in. The rookie's first patrol is routine. His first firefight is brief but intense. His first casualty is a soldier named Rodriguez, who steps on a mine and loses his foot. By the end of his second week, the rookie stops asking questions about combat and starts focusing on survival. "You were right," he says, after watching Rodriguez get evacuated. "Training doesn't prepare you for this." "No," you agree. Nothing does. On his last patrol before rotation, you lead at the front one final time. It's a short mission, 4 hours in familiar territory, checking for signs of enemy activity on a route you've patrolled dozens of times. No contact expected, no big risks. The patrol goes smoothly until the end. Just 2 kilometers from base, you hear the sound every infantryman dreads. Mortars incoming. The first blast knocks you down but doesn't seriously hurt you. The second lands closer. The third hits so near that dirt and debris shower your position. "Incoming! Take cover!" someone shouts, even though you're already pressed against the ground, making yourself as small as possible. The mortar attack lasts maybe 5 minutes but feels like an hour. When it's over, you quickly check your gear and count your people. No one's badly hurt, but everyone's got cuts and bruises from shrapnel. "Welcome to Vietnam." You tell the rookie he looks shaken, but okay. "It's always like that," you say. Sometimes it's worse. As you walk the last 2 kilometers back to Fire Support Base Charlie, you realize this is probably your final combat mission. Tomorrow, you start the demobilization process that will take you away from Vietnam for good, but you also know part of you will never leave. War has become part of who you are in ways geography can't erase. You'll carry Vietnam with you wherever you go, along with the memories of all those who didn't come home. Every look, relief mixed with worry, joy tempered by guilt, hope tangled with fear. You're glad to leave the war behind, but also nervous about fitting back into civilian life. You share a tent with 3 other soldiers flying home on the same flight. None of you talk much about what happened in Vietnam. After a year at war, talking about it feels unnecessary, and maybe even dangerous. Talking about what you saw and did might make it too real, too permanent. Instead, you talk about plans for when you get home. One soldier wants to buy a motorcycle and travel the country. Another plans to use his GI benefits to go to college and study engineering. The third just wants to sleep in his own bed for a week straight. "And you?" someone asks. "I don't know," you admit. "I haven't thought past getting home alive." It's true. For the past year, survival has been your only goal, your only plan, your only hope. You didn't allow yourself to think about the future because it felt too uncertain to be real. Now, with less than a day before you leave, you're forced to consider what's next. Will you go to college like your sister, find a job like your dad, pretend the last 12 months never happened? You've heard some guys struggle to adjust. War changes you, and it's hard to fit back into normal life. One soldier says carefully. "We'll be fine," another says. "We're Americans, we adapt." But you're not sure adaptation is even possible. How do you adjust to a world where people worry about small problems when you've seen kids killed by artillery? How do you care about everyday stuff when you know life can end suddenly and violently at any moment? Those are questions you'll have to answer when you get home. For now, it's enough to know you made it through, that you'll see your family again, that the war is over for you even if it's still going for others. You think of the soldiers still out there tonight. Marcos, Prater, Aunt, Bobby Chen, Doc Martinez, and all the others who still have months left. They're facing the same dangers you did, feeling the same fear, exhaustion, and loss that defined your year in Vietnam. Part of you feels guilty for leaving them behind. Part of you feels relieved to be going home. Part of you wonders if you'll ever feel normal again. Tomorrow, you board a plane to the U.S., starting the journey back to a life that might not fit you anymore. Tonight, you try to sleep in a tent in Vietnam, hearing distant artillery fire and wondering who you'll be when you wake up back in America. The Vietnam War will drag on for another 7 years, costing thousands of American lives and hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese. But your war is ending, and you're one of the lucky ones going home. Whether home still feels like home, that's yet to be seen. But first, you need to make it through one more night, one more dawn, one more day in a country that tried to kill you but didn't. In Vietnam, survival is always about taking it one day at a time, with smoke rising somewhere far off where the war keeps going without you. The soldier beside you is Kevin Murphy, a sergeant from Boston who served as a radio operator. He's 22, but his hair is already gray at the temples. He says he's lost 37 pounds in the past year and can't remember the last time he slept through the night without nightmares. "You know what scares me the most about going home?" Murphy asks as the plane climbs. "What?" "That nobody will understand. That I won't be able to feel happy I'm alive." That hits home hard. For 12 months, survival was your biggest achievement, your only goal, your daily mission. Now that you've made it, you should feel joy, relief, victory. Instead, you're caught in a strange mix of guilt, emptiness, and fear of what's next. "My girlfriend's planning a welcome home party," Murphy goes on. "She invited the whole family, all my high school friends. She wants me to tell my Vietnam story. What will you say?" "I don't know," you admit. How do you explain to folks who've never left Massachusetts that you saw a 16-year-old kid die bleeding in your arms? How do you describe the smell of napalm burning a village? How do you make them understand you killed people, and it'll never leave your mind? Murphy falls silent, staring out the small window. "I think I'm going to lie," he finally says. "I'll make up stories about brotherhood, heroism, defending freedom. I'll tell them the war they want to hear, not the war that really happened." You get that feeling. The truth about Vietnam is too heavy to carry alone, but also too heavy to share with people who weren't there. It's a burden only other vets really understand. During the 20-hour flight, you wonder what kind of story you'll tell your family. Your mom will want to know if you stayed safe, ate well, if the guys treated you right. Your dad will want the tactical details, what weapons you used, what the enemy was like, if you did your part. Jenny will want to know if the war was like the movies, if you met interesting people, if you had any exciting adventures. How do you explain that the war was mostly boredom with bursts of pure terror? How do you say the interesting people you met are now mostly dead or seriously wounded? How do you tell them the only adventures were about trying not to die while killing others? The truth is, you don't explain. You smile, joke about military food, and change the subject whenever you can. You're hit with a culture shock no training could prepare you for. The plane lands on American soil, and you expect relief, joy, a feeling of coming home. Instead, you feel like an alien on a strange planet. The airport is full of regular people living regular lives, families on vacation, business folks with briefcases, kids running and laughing. The noise is different from Vietnam. English conversations, announcements, soft background music instead of helicopters and artillery. The smells are different too. Fresh coffee, perfume, clean air conditioning, no trace of cordite, diesel, or decay. Your nose, trained by 12 months of war, keeps searching for danger that isn't there. But it's the sight that unsettles you most. People in bright, clean clothes, faces unscarred, free from constant fear, moving casually without checking every shadow for snipers. Outside the international arrivals, protesters have gathered. They hold signs with anti-war slogans. Bring our soldiers home, stop the war machine. Hell no, we won't go. Some signs show photos of fallen soldiers, including faces you recognize, baby killers. A young woman screams as you and the other soldiers pass baggage claim. She's maybe 20, with long hair and a look of moral outrage you envy. It must be comforting to know exactly who the good guys and bad guys are. You fought in an immoral war. Another protester yells, "How many Vietnamese children did you kill?" The question hits you like a gut punch. You think of the kids you saw die, not just those killed by American soldiers, but also those lost to Viet Cong bombs, crossfire, disease, and famine caused by the war itself. War kills children in every way imaginable, and it rarely matters who pulled the trigger. Murphy grabs your arm as you stop walking. "It's not worth it," he whispers. "They won't get it, no matter how hard you try." You keep moving, but their words echo in your head. They see you as a willing tool of a policy they believe is wrong. You see yourself as a kid drafted into a terrible job no one should ever have to do. Both views can be true. They feel faded, like old photos that lost their color. You remember their faces but don't know how they'll react to the man you've become. The soldier beside you is heading home to Michigan. He says his wife had a baby while he was in Vietnam. A daughter he's never held, only seen in pictures mailed to him. "I'm scared to hold her," he admits. "What if my hands are used to holding weapons? What if I hurt her by accident?" It's a fear you hadn't thought of, but it makes sense. Your hands have spent a year trained for violence, conditioned to respond with lethal force to any threat. How do you teach them to be gentle again? When the plane lands in Cleveland, you see through the window the familiar Midwestern skyline. Flat plains stretching out, grain silos, water towers. It's both comforting and strange. Your stomach twists as you walk through the terminal toward baggage claim. In a few minutes, you'll see your family for the first time in over a year. They'll be waiting at the gate, probably holding welcome home signs, maybe with balloons and flowers. You wonder if you'll be able to pretend to be the person they remember. Your mom enlisted you because of your asthma. She's already crying before you even step through the gate. Your dad stands there stiff as a board, but you can see tears in his eyes too. Jenny looks older, more grown up. She grew up while you were gone, turning from a teenager into a young woman. Danny looks just the same, except for his new glasses and that college haircut. "Tom!" your mom calls out, running toward you. Her hug is desperate, like she's trying to soak up all the pain you've been through just by holding you. She smells like familiar perfume and laundry soap. Home smells you forgot you missed. "Let me look at you," she says, holding your face in her hands. "You're so thin, and those dark circles. You haven't been sleeping well?" "I'm fine, Mom." You lie without thinking. "Just tired from the trip." Your dad steps forward and offers a firm handshake, but then changes his mind and pulls you into a hug too. It's quick but powerful, filled with unspoken things only another vet would get. "Welcome home, son," he says, voice rough. Jenny practically tackles you, hugging you with all the energy of a kid seeing her big brother again. "I missed you so much," she says. "I kept all your records and left your room just like you had it." And slowly, Jenny, you laugh, a real laugh you haven't had in months. Danny waits his turn, coming up with a half-awkward smile. "So dude, how was it?" It's a simple question that demands an impossible answer. How was Vietnam? How do you sum up 12 months of watching friends die, killing people, living in constant fear, losing parts of yourself in every firefight? You answer. And Danny's smart enough not to ask for more. On the drive home, your family talks about local news, changes in town, people you used to know. Sarah Morrison, your ex, moved to Columbus with her husband. Mr. Henderson at the hardware store retired. The high school built a new gym. You listen politely, but it all feels unreal. While you were fighting to survive in the Vietnamese jungle, life in Ohio went on like nothing happened. People got married, divorced, had babies, died, changed jobs, remodeled houses. The usual small-town stuff. It's comforting to know somewhere stayed normal, but it feels disconnected. How do these everyday worries fit with what you've been through? Posters on the wall. The same pile of car magazines on the nightstand. I made your favorite meal for dinner, your mom says. Pot roast with potatoes and carrots and apple pie for dessert. Home cooking should be a welcome change after a year of military rations. But you find you've lost your appetite. The roast is perfectly cooked, just like you remember. But it tastes like cardboard. Your stomach, trained by months of stress and adrenaline, rejects the rich meal. You barely eat. Your mom watches you with worry. Are you okay? Just still adjusting, you say. Military food messed up my system. That's only part of it. Your body's affected not just by the food, but by the stress, fear, and trauma. Those don't disappear just because you're back in a safe place. After dinner, you sit in the familiar living room while your family catches up on a year's worth of news. Jenny talks about school, friends, college plans. Your dad describes work changes, new sawmill gear, neighbors who moved. Your mom shares church events, club ladies, and town gossip. It's both comforting and overwhelming. These people you love more than anything are living in a totally different world from yours. They worry about things that seem small after a year at war. You worry about things they can't imagine. Tell us about Vietnam, Jenny finally asks. What was it like? Did you meet interesting people? Was it dangerous? The question hangs there like a live grenade. Your family wants stories, wants to understand, wants to share what you've been through, but you don't know how to explain. It was hot, you say finally, really hot and humid, and it rained a lot during monsoon season. But the people and the fighting? They already know. You know what she means. Did you have to kill anyone? I did my job, you answer, voice rougher than you expected. Serving in Vietnam wasn't an adventure, Jenny. It was a job, a really hard job. Your family shares worried looks. They can tell something's changed in you, that the kid who left isn't the same man who came back. But they don't know how to handle that. Maybe you're just tired, your mom suggests softly. A good night's sleep in your own bed will help. Okay, you say, heading to your room. But sleep doesn't come easy. The bed is too soft. After a year on cots and jungle floors, the silence feels wrong. No helicopters, no artillery, no guards on patrol. Worse still, you start hearing threats that aren't there. Every creak in the house, every car driving by, every branch tapping the window makes you want to reach for a rifle that's not there. At 3 a.m., you give up trying to sleep and head to the kitchen for coffee. Your mom's there, sitting at the table in her robe. Can't sleep? She asks quietly. I'm not used to so much silence. You admit it, and you sit together in the dark kitchen, sipping coffee and avoiding the big stuff. Your mom just knows you need time, that adjusting won't happen overnight. There's no rush, she finally says. You're home now, you're safe, everything else can wait. You want to believe her. But safe has become a relative word. You may be physically safe in Ohio, but the threats in your mind came with you across the ocean. How do you live in a world where soldiers die over cans of food, and people complain about things that seem so small? You hear neighbors complaining about the weather, gas prices, local politicians, and you want to shout that those aren't the real problems. Real problems are about not dying today, not watching your friends bleed out, not having to kill to stay alive. But you don't shout. You smile politely and pretend to care about the usual small-town stuff. Danny Kowalski shows up on the third day, eager to catch up and hear stories from his childhood best friend. You sit in the backyard where you used to play baseball, and Danny asks the usual questions. So, what was it really like? Do the movies get it right? Did you see a lot of combat? You answer carefully. I don't want to talk about it now, man. I know it must have been hard, but you can trust me. We've been best friends forever. That's exactly why I don't want to talk about it. You're my best friend, and I don't want that to change. Danny looks confused, a little hurt, but eventually agrees to switch topics. You talk about college, girls, future plans. Normal 20-year-old stuff. But you can see in his eyes he feels the distance that's grown between you. War creates experiences you can't share with people who haven't been there, and that naturally breeds isolation. Your sister Jenny tries to connect in different ways. She shows you photos from her last year of school, talks about teenage drama and relationships, shares her dreams about college and a career. You listen, ask the right questions, but it's like watching someone else's movie. You seem different, she says one night while you're watching TV. How? More serious? Older? Like you've seen things I can't understand. Pretty sharp for a 17-year-old. Maybe I have, you admit. Will you tell me about it someday? Maybe when you're older. I'm already older. I grew up a lot this past year. You look at your younger sister and realize she's right. The last year changed both of you, just in different ways. She grew up through normal teenage stuff, school, friends, first boyfriends. You grew up through war, death, and violence. Yeah, you say honestly. We both grew up. I haven't thought much about the future yet. There's no rush, your dad says. But you can see he's worried. In his generation, men came home from war and jumped right back into life. They got jobs, got married, had kids, moved on. Your generation is finding out. Moving on isn't that simple. The GI Bill gives you education benefits, a chance to go to college paid for by the government. Jenny's excited and has brochures from different universities spread across the kitchen table. You could study engineering like Denny, she says, or maybe business or journalism. You've always been good at writing. The idea of sitting in classrooms, listening to professors talk about abstract stuff, taking tests on textbooks, feels unreal after a year of life and death lessons. I need more time to decide, you say. Jenny accepts it, but you can tell she doesn't really get it. You're no longer excited about these opportunities. The problem is you can't picture a future beyond the next week, the next day, the next hour. In Vietnam, planning beyond the next mission was tempting fate. Now you're home and supposed to be safe, but you still can't think in months or years. There's a church event, a casual get-together to support returning soldiers. Your mom insists you go, saying it'll be good for you to meet people your age. The party's in the church basement, decorated with American flags and patriotic posters. There's a small group of other vets, men who served in Vietnam, Germany, Korea, even World War II. The older vets stick together in one corner, drinking coffee and talking quietly about things civilians don't get. The Vietnam vets mostly keep to themselves, avoiding both the older vets and civilians. You recognize the dynamic right away. World War II and Korean War vets came home as heroes, greeted with parades and celebrations. Vietnam vets came home as what? Survivors of an unpopular war, part of a conflict many Americans think was a mistake. How are you adjusting? Asks Mrs. Henderson, an older lady from church who's known your family for years. Fine, you lie automatically. Must be good to be back in civilization, away from all that violence. You agree politely, but the word civilization sounds strange. For the past year you lived by clear rules. Protect your squad, complete the mission, survive the day. It was brutal, but it made sense. Now you're back in civilization, where the rules are confusing and often contradict each other. You're supposed to be proud of your service, but not too proud, because the war wasn't popular. You're supposed to readjust fast, but not so fast that it seems like the war didn't change you. Near the end of the party, a World War II vet comes over. You served in Vietnam? He asks. Yes, sir, 12 months. Yes, sir. He nods thoughtfully. Different war than mine, different enemy, different rules. But some things stay the same. The hard part isn't fighting. It's living with it afterward. That's the first thing anyone said that really makes sense since you got home. Does it get easier, you ask? No, he says, different, not easier. How do you carry it? By talking with people who get it, finding ways to honor those who didn't make it back, and remembering that surviving isn't something to feel guilty about, it's a responsibility. His words stick with you on the ride home. Responsibility. The idea that surviving a war brings responsibilities, not just privileges. Vietnam, and seeing the familiar handwriting on the envelope makes your heart race. Adam, I hope this letter finds you well and adjusting to civilian life. Things here are the same. Hot, humid, and dangerous. We lost Preeter last week, a landmine during a routine patrol. Doc Martinez tried to save him, but the wounds were too severe. He died talking about his mother's marinara sauce. Preeter is doing well, though quieter than before. Bob Chen was promoted to corporal and is doing great as a squad leader. We have 3 new guys. All young, all scared, all reminding us of you and Billy when they first got here. My time ends in 4 months. I don't know how I'm going to readjust to life in Detroit after all this. Any advice? Your brother, Marcos. P.S. Doc Martinez says the offer to talk is still open. You read the letter 3 times before it really sinks in. Aunt is gone. Anthony Reich, the kid from Brooklyn who told funny stories and dreamed about his mother's marinara sauce, is dead. You sit on your front steps and cry for the first time since coming home. Not just for Aunt, but for Tom too, for Billy Patterson, for all the others who never got the chance to sit on the front steps of their own families' homes. An hour later, Jenny finds you there. What happened? She asks, sitting down beside you. A friend died. Oh, Tommy, I'm so sorry. Was he from around here? No, someone from Vietnam. Jenny is quiet for a moment. Were you close? We were brothers, you say, and the words carry a weight she can't fully grasp. Do you want to talk about him? You think about Aunt, his jokes, his stories about home, the way he looked out for the younger soldiers, his bravery under fire. How do you explain to your 17-year-old sister that you only knew this kid for 12 months, but he became closer to you than lifelong friends? He made everyone laugh. You finally say, even when things were terrible, he found ways to joke that kept us going. He had to be a special person. He was just a kid from Brooklyn who got drafted. But yes, he was special. That night you write back to Marcos. Marcos, I'm sorry to hear about Aunt. He was one of the good ones. As for readjusting, I don't have much advice. I'm still figuring it out. People at home are kind, but they don't really get it. They want you to snap back to normal right away, but normal doesn't exist anymore. Take care of yourself. Take care of the new guys. And remember, coming home is just the beginning, not the end. Your brother, Tom. P.S. Tell Doc I'm still thinking about his offer to talk. After you get back, your town holds a small parade. The high school band, veterans marching, speeches at the local cemetery. Your family wants you to take part, wear your military uniform, be recognized for your service. It would be good for the town to see you, your mom says, to show that our boys came home, not all of them. You reply, and your mom goes quiet. You go to the parade, but as a spectator, not a participant. You stand in the crowd watching older veterans march in formation. Men from World War II and Korea, their uniforms carefully preserved, medals shining in the sun. There are 3 other Vietnam vets in the crowd. You recognize each other without a word. Something in your posture, the way you constantly scan the surroundings, the guarded expression that hides more than it shows. During the cemetery ceremony, the mayor talks about sacrifice, honor, and the community's gratitude for those who served. Nice words, well-intentioned, but they don't really hit you. What gets to you is the section of the cemetery for local soldiers killed in combat. The new headstones that weren't there when you left, young men from your area who never came home. One gravestone catches your eye. James Mikkel Kowalsk. He died in 1948 to 1968. Vietnam. He's not your friend Danny, probably a cousin or distant relative. But the familiar name reminds you of all the Kowalsk families in small American towns that lost sons in a war most people can't even locate on a map. After the ceremony, you walk alone among the headstones, reading names and dates. Many of those killed in Vietnam were younger than you, 18, 19 years old, boys who barely had time to grow up before dying in rice paddies halfway around the world. Did you know them? You turn and see an older man, maybe in his 50s, standing behind you. He has the posture of a military vet and wears a small American Legion pin on his lapel. Not directly, you say, but I knew others like them. I lost my brother in the Pacific in 1944, the man says, and Odema, he was 19. You're quiet for a moment. 2 men separated by generations but connected by the experience of loss in war. It's different when you come home and they don't, he finally says. Yeah, I agree, it's different. Survivor's guilt. That's what doctors call it now. We didn't have a name for it back then, but it was the same thing. How do you handle it? By living a life that honors their memory, not wasting the chance they never had. Simple but powerful advice. Surviving war creates a moral duty to those who didn't make it. You know you need to do something with your life. Education seems better than just standing still, lost in war memories. Jenny helps you fill out applications for several state universities. You pick a general studies program, nothing too specific, just a way to start moving toward a future you still can't clearly picture. Are you excited? Jenny asks as you drop the forms in the mailbox. Nervous, you answer honestly. Why? You've always been smart. You'll do fine. But it's not about smarts. It's about whether I can focus on textbooks when my mind keeps drifting back to the jungles in Vietnam. It's hard to care about grades when you spent a year where the only grade that mattered was making it through the next day. College might be good for you. Your dad says one night as you work together in his workshop, it'll give you something to focus on beyond everything you've been through. He pauses, then asks, "Do you think I'll make it?" "I think you can do anything you set your mind to," you reply. The real question is figuring out what you want. That's the hard part. You spent so long just trying to survive that you forgot how to want things, how to have ambitions or dreams. In Vietnam, wanting more than just staying alive was risky, because it made loss hurt that much worse. Now you're safe, but you still can't let yourself want much of a future. Maybe that's what college will teach me, you say, how to want again. Your dad stops what he's doing and looks at you. That's smart, son, really smart. His words instantly take you back to those burning villages in Vietnam. One night you're watching TV with your family when a news program shows footage of the war. American soldiers moving through the jungle, helicopters landing in rice paddies, the wounded being carried on stretchers. "Jesus," you whisper, and your mom quickly changes the channel. "Sorry," she says, "I should have switched sooner, but the damage is done." The images bring back a flood of memories you've been trying to keep buried for weeks. You can smell the cordite, hear the screams, feel the weight of a rifle in your hands. "I need some fresh air," you say. Outside in the backyard, your family knows to give you space. They still don't really know how to help, but they've learned when to step back. You sit under the same tree you used to read comics under as a kid. It feels both comforting and unsettling, a reminder that some things haven't changed. But you definitely have. Danny Kowalsk shows up about an hour later, like he just knows you need company. "Mom said you were out here," he says. "You want to talk about it?" "There's not much to talk about." Danny sits down near the tree. "That's okay, we don't have to talk." It's the first time since you got back that someone's just there for you. No pressure to explain or justify anything. Danny just stays there. Your childhood best friend, offering quiet support you didn't realize you needed. After a while, you finally say, "It's like there are two versions of me. The kid who grew up here, and the soldier who fought in Vietnam. And I don't know how to make those two parts fit into one life." "Maybe you don't have to," Danny says. "Maybe it's normal to be different after something like this." But then, who am I? And how will my family handle the person I've become? "We'll figure it out together," Danny says. "That's what family's for." It's a simple answer, but it opens a new way of thinking. That readjusting doesn't mean going back to who you were, but learning to live with who you've become.